All right, so welcome to this deep dive.
Hmm?
And we're going to try something a little different for this one.
Okay.
We are tackling Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature.
Big one.
Yeah, a big one. But we're not going through the whole book. We're
Mhm.
actually going to be looking at it through the lens of a YouTube summary.
Interesting.
Yeah, ambitious.
Maybe a little,
Yeah, a little bit.
but it could be fun.
Yeah, but trust me,
Okay.
we're going to pull out some seriously useful stuff
Okay.
that you can apply in your everyday life.
I like it.
So, like, right off the bat,
Yeah.
the video summary hits us with Greene's main premise,
Mm-hmm.
understanding human nature.
Okay.
It's like unlocking this, like, secret code
Right.
to, like, seeing the world and the people in it with, like, a newfound clarity.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having X-ray vision,
Wow.
but for people's motivations and behaviors.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that Greene isn't advocating for like straight up manipulation. It's more about kind of dropping those naive assumptions
Mm-hmm.
that we often have about people,
Right.
like that they're completely rational and predictable.
Right.
Instead, he's really urging us to develop a more realistic and nuanced understanding
Okay.
of what really drives human behavior.
Okay. So how do we actually do that? Like,
Right.
what are some tangible takeaways from the video that can help us develop this, like, X-ray vision?
So one fascinating example is the concept of microexpressions.
Okay.
Have you heard of these?
I've definitely heard of them.
Yeah.
But I always thought they were more of a spy movie trope.
Right.
Is there any real science behind them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
While they're often subtle
Yeah.
and difficult to catch,
Right.
microexpressions are rooted in decades of research
Wow.
on facial expressions and emotion.
Okay.
They can be incredibly revealing,
Uh-huh.
especially when someone is trying to conceal their true feelings.
So let's say, like, you're in a negotiation
Hmm.
and the other person seems agreeable,
Okay.
but you catch a fleeting micro-expression of contempt.
Oh,
That could be a red flag, right?
precisely.
Okay.
It might suggest that they're not being entirely truthful
Right.
or that there's more going on beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Now, Greene isn't suggesting you become like a walking lie detector or
Yeah.
anything,
Right.
but just being attuned to these subtle cues can give you valuable insight.
Okay, so we're learning to read between the lines
Mhm.
of people's words and actions.
Yes.
But what about understanding our own emotions?
Right.
The video touches on that too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Greene emphasizes that mastering our own emotions
Okay.
is just as crucial as understanding others.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses this really powerful analogy,
Okay.
comparing our emotional selves to a wild horse that needs taming.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So it's not about suppressing our emotions,
Right.
but rather learning to manage them.
Exactly.
So they don't run wild
Yeah.
and lead us into, like, bad decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Greene argues that we all have this irrational side
Right.
that can cloud our judgment
Yeah.
and sabotage our goals.
Yeah.
He calls it the emotional self
Yeah.
and believes that recognizing its influence is key
Yeah.
to making rational choices.
Okay, so we're learning to decode others
Mm-hmm.
and tame our inner wild horses.
Yes.
It feels like we're building this toolkit
I like it.
for navigating the human landscape.
It's a good way to put it.
What else does the video highlight?
Well, another crucial element is the power of observation.
Okay.
Greene urges us to become collectors of people's tells.
Okay.
These tells can be anything, from their body language to their choice of words,
Right.
to even their style of dress.
So it's like we're playing detective,
Yeah,
but instead of solving crimes,
Right.
we're trying to understand the people around us.
exactly. And the more we observe,
Mm-hmm.
the better we become at recognizing patterns
Yeah.
and understanding the underlying motivations that drive people's behavior.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So
Yeah.
we've got the decoding, the taming, the observing.
Yeah.
It's like we're building a whole arsenal of social skills here.
That's a good analogy.
What else can we add to this toolkit?
This is where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
The video dives into Greene's concept of impression management,
Okay.
which is all about how we present ourselves to the world.
Okay. I think I'm getting this.
Yeah.
It's about putting our best foot forward, right?
That's part of it.
Okay.
But Greene goes deeper.
Okay.
He argues that we all wear masks to some extent,
Right.
presenting different versions of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Think about how you behave at a job interview
Right.
versus hanging out with your friends.
Totally. It's like I'm channeling different personas
Yeah.
depending on who I'm with and what I'm trying to achieve.
Exactly. And Green's point is that this isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
In fact, he sees it as a vital social skill.
Okay.
It's about understanding the unspoken rules of the game
Right.
and adapting our persona to play it effectively.
So it's not about being fake, it's about being strategic.
Right. It's about understanding that different situations call for different approaches.
Okay.
Think of it like an actor playing a role.
Right.
A skilled actor can convincingly portray a wide range of characters,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean they're being inauthentic.
Right.
They're simply adapting to the demands of the script.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this ties back to understanding human nature. If we can recognize the masks that others are wearing
Yes.
and become more adept at managing our own,
Right.
we can navigate social situations with more awareness and finesse.
Precisely now, this awareness of masks and social dynamics
Right.
leads us to another key theme that the video explores, power dynamics.
Okay.
Green sees power as a fundamental force
Okay.
in human interactions,
Right.
shaping how we relate to one another.
Power dynamics, that sounds a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Like something out of a corporate thriller.
Well, it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
It's simply about understanding that power exists in every relationship,
Okay.
whether it's between a boss and an employee,
Right.
a parent and a child,
Yeah.
or even two friends.
So how does Green suggest we navigate these power dynamics? Does he give us any, like, practical advice?
Absolutely. Instead of diving into all of Green's laws of power,
Okay.
which would be a deep dive in itself,
Right.
let's focus on one that might be particularly relevant for you.
Okay.
Remember the law, never outshine the master.
Vaguely.
Okay.
But remind me, what does that one entail?
Essentially, it's about being mindful of how you present yourself, especially when dealing with someone in a position of authority.
Okay.
You never want to make them feel threatened or insecure
Right.
by appearing too competent or ambitious.
Okay. I can see how that could backfire. No one wants to feel like they're being shown up,
Yeah,
especially by someone they're supposed to be in charge of.
exactly. And it's not just about bosses.
Right.
This principle applies to any situation
Okay.
where there's a power imbalance.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the dynamics at play and being strategic in how you navigate them.
So it's not about being a pushover or suppressing your talents.
Right.
It's more about being aware of the potential pitfalls and playing the game smartly.
You got it. It's about picking your battles, building relationships,
Right.
and knowing when to assert yourself and when to hold back.
This is giving me a lot to think about.
Yeah,
It's like I'm seeing the world of social interactions through a whole new lens.
that's what we want.
What else does the video highlight about this idea of power dynamics?
One key point is that understanding power dynamics isn't about becoming manipulative or ruthless.
Okay.
It's about developing a more nuanced understanding of how power operates in different situations.
Okay.
So you can make more informed choices
Yeah.
about how to interact with others.
Okay, so it's not about becoming a Machiavellian mastermind, but rather developing a more sophisticated understanding of social dynamics.
Exactly. And remember, power dynamics aren't inherently negative.
Okay.
They can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
The key is to be aware of them
Mm-hmm.
and to use your understanding of them
Right.
to create positive outcomes.
So we've talked about decoding human behavior,
Yeah.
mastering our emotions, becoming expert observers,
Yes.
recognizing the importance of impression management,
Right.
and navigating power dynamics.
A lot.
That's a lot to unpack.
It certainly is. But the beauty of Green's work is that even a basic understanding of these principles
Right.
can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
It can help you navigate the complexities of human interaction
Yeah.
with more awareness, confidence, and effectiveness.
I feel like I'm starting to see the world in a whole new light.
Good.
Before we move on, is there anything else from the video about power dynamics that stood out to you? It's amazing like how interconnected all these ideas are.
Yeah.
We've gone from decoding micro expressions
Right.
to taming our inner wild horses to navigating like complex power dynamics. It all points to like this deeper understanding of what makes people tick.
It really does.
You know, and speaking of like shadows,
Okay.
there's one concept that we've touched on throughout this whole deep dive
Yeah.
that I want to circle back to.
Sure.
The idea of masks.
Right.
You mentioned earlier that we all wear them to some extent, presenting different versions of ourselves in different situations.
Right, part of that impression management strategy.
All right, it raises this like really interesting question for me.
Okay.
If we're all wearing masks, how can we ever truly know ourselves or others?
Right.
How do we determine authenticity in a world where everyone is playing a role?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's one that Green doesn't offer a simple answer to. In fact, he suggests that true authenticity might be more of an ideal than like an achievable state.
So are we all just destined to live in this world of facades, never truly connecting with one another on a genuine level?
Not necessarily. While Green acknowledges the prevalence of masks, he also suggests that there are ways to glimpse behind them.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, it requires careful observation.
Okay.
A willingness to question our assumptions. And perhaps most importantly, a deep understanding of our own motivations and desires.
So it's not about tearing down the masks entirely, but rather learning to see them for what they are, tools that we use to navigate the social world.
Exactly. And sometimes those masks can serve a valuable purpose.
Right.
They can help us protect ourselves, build relationships, and achieve our goals.
The key is to be aware of when we're using them and to make sure that they're not preventing us from connecting with others on a deeper level.
Exactly.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on how I approach social interactions.
That's what we like to hear.
And that's ultimately what we hope to achieve with these deep dives. To give you the tools and insights to navigate the world.
The tools for your toolkit.
Exactly. With more awareness, confidence, and effectiveness.
I think we did that today.
I would say mission accomplished. Before we wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. If Green is right, and we all wear masks to some extent, then the real challenge becomes understanding the motivations behind those masks. Are we wearing them to protect ourselves, to impress others, or perhaps to hide parts of ourselves that we're afraid to reveal?
That's a good question.
That's something I think we can all reflect on.
It is.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to continue exploring Green's work, to observe the world around you with a more critical eye, and to consider how this idea of masks shapes your own interaction.
Very good.
To know. That's a wrap for this deep dive.
I enjoyed it.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the fascinating world of human nature.